Are you planning to buy a vehicle for your business this year? There's lots of confusion out there about vehicle depreciation. I see business owners make the same mistakes over and over, not because they're trying to cheat the system, but because they simply don't understand how the rules work. And that can cost you, whether it's overpaying in taxes or facing problems with the IRS. The rules changed significantly in 2025, especially around bonus depreciation and those heavy SUVs everyone talks about. There's a specific date that makes a huge difference in how much you can deduct. In this video, my goal is simple: to help you get this right and truly understand how vehicle depreciation works for your business. Let's dive in. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple slides here on the vehicle depreciation deduction rules. We first want to identify the types of vehicles, okay? And there's about 7 slides. The last 2, I'm going to show you examples with real numbers here, so you can kind of put the first couple slides to real life examples. So the first one is passenger autos. These are vehicles that weigh less than 6,000 pounds. The second type of vehicle here is heavy SUVs, trucks, vans between 6,000 pounds and 14,000 pounds. And the third one is qualified non-personal use vehicles. Think of delivery vans, ambulance, think of like the Amazon delivery trucks, FedEx, UPS, all those. The key here is these vehicles must be used more than 50% for business use to qualify for accelerated depreciation. And this is section 179 in bonus. So if you're a business owner and you're going to buy a vehicle, the vehicle that you're buying is going to be in one of these 3 buckets. That's the kind of way to look at this slide here. All right, the next one, section 179 expensing. So there's going to be 2 here. There's section 179 expensing and there's bonus depreciation. These are 2 terms that you've probably seen a lot. So the first one, and you got to do this in order too. So the first one is a section 179 expensing. So a business owner, they buy a vehicle, they can deduct up to $2.5 million in 2025, and the phase out is at $4 million. And it's limited to your business income. So you got to pull up your income statement and you look at your profit and loss at the end of the year. And if you're $1,000 of profit and you bought a $2.5 million vehicle, you're going to be limited. Okay, and this is only on the section 179 expense. We'll get to the bonus depreciation later. And for SUVs, okay, so these are different than, so let's go back to, so we got passenger autos, we got SUVs, and then we got these, delivery vans, right? Here we're talking about SUVs. So with SUVs that weigh between 6,000 and 14,000 pounds, the max deduction under section 179 is 31,300. Okay. So you have to understand, again, you got section 179 expense and you got bonus depreciation expense. Those are 2 separate terms. Under section 179, SUVs between this weight, the max deduction is 31,700. Again, I'm going to give you an example. Vehicles must be purchased and used greater than 50% for business use. Now, I'm going to talk to you about this in one of the 2 examples here, but this is something that also gets missed. People think that they're going to buy a vehicle, they're going to use it for 51% for their business, 49% for personal, and they get to deduct 100% of that vehicle, and that's not correct. So that's one error that we see a lot of business owners make, is it's toward the end of the year, they're going to buy all these vehicles, but a portion of it is not for business use. So they can't deduct 100% of that. So just keep that in mind here. So you'll see this everywhere, right? Like you got to make sure the vehicle is used for greater than 50%. Great, you check that box. But when it comes time for the deduction, you got to take that percentage that's used. So just say it's 60% that's used for business. It's 60% of your cost, right? You can't just deduct the whole thing if it's not used 100% for the business. All right, so next up is the bonus depreciation. So here, whatever you couldn't deduct under section 179, you can deduct the rest here under the bonus. So 100% of the deduction for vehicles acquired after January 19th of 2025. You can deduct 100%. Now, if this is a passenger auto, right? So we go back to those 3 groups, passenger, SUVs, and the larger trucks. This is the passenger. You can add another $8,000 to the first year limit. I'll show you what this means. And then there's a phase out. Vehicles purchased before January 20th, 2025. The bonus is 40% for 2025. And there is no income limit. So, which means that you can be in a loss position, still kind of take this deduction. But again, you're in a loss position. You're not paying any tax anyways. This is just adding to your net operating loss. All right, so for the 2025 depreciation caps, passenger autos, right? So these are autos that are less than 6,000 pounds, and you'll see this term luxury vehicles. So the bonus cap, right? The most the depreciation deduction that you can take, section 170 bonus, is 20,200. Okay. If you're not taking the bonus and you don't qualify for whatever reason, the most that you can deduct is 12,200. So you see the difference between the 20,200 and the 12,200, that's 8,000. So with bonus, the most you can take. So if you buy a passenger auto for your business, the most you can take for the first year is 20,200. And then here's the other that you take, ratably over the rest of the life of the car. Record keeping. So this is key, right? So you got to keep miles logs, right? Business purpose in your total miles. So there's an app that we tell our clients to use. It's a good one. It's called Mile IQ. You turn it on whenever you're in your vehicle, you turn it off when you leave, and it will create a PDF summary of where you drove for business related. And then some other things here, only business use percentage is deductible. This is the key thing that a lot of people miss, right? They think, oh, I'm going to buy this car. It's $50,000. I used it for 60%, but since it's over 50%, I get to deduct all $50,000. That's not correct. It's whatever percentage you use for your business, that's what you can deduct. So if you think of, back to those types of vehicles, right here, this qualified non-personal use vehicles, ambulances, this is all business. So all these companies are going to deduct 100% because it's all being used for business. But for some of these other ones, a lot of business owners don't use their vehicles for business 100% of the time. And that's where the trap happens. So passenger auto equals listed property, strict substantiation, which I talked about. And then here's another one. If the business provides a vehicle to an employee, okay, so you're a business owner, you provide a vehicle to an employee, and there's a part of it that's for personal use, right? So you give vehicle to an employee, and they use it for personal purposes. The value of that personal use must be included in the employee's income, okay? So that's also important because that's a question that we get a lot. So now we're going to go through two examples. The first example here, vehicle purchase price is $70,000 and it's used 100% for business use. So for passenger vehicles, so those that are 6,000 pounds or less, the max year one deduction on this 70,000 is 20,400. For SUVs or trucks, right, that are weighing between 6,000 and 14,000 pounds, the section's 179 deduction, the max is 31,300. Okay. And you kind of look at your remaining basis, right? So remaining basis is the 70,000, what you bought it for. That's the section 179. So here's your remaining basis. And then you can take 100% of this, right? Bonus depreciation is 38,700. So remember I said earlier, there's two parts of this. There's the section 179 and then there's the bonus. So you add both of these up, they total 70,000. So in this example, that you get to deduct the $70,000 all in year one. Again, you can see here 100% for business use. So in the second example, same 70,000, but we're saying now it's 60% for business use. So for the passenger vehicle, max 1 year deduction, you take the 31,300, right, for section 179, and you multiply this by 60%. So this is 18,780. Now we're going to look at their bonus. Now, remember, for passenger vehicles, right, the most that they can deduct their first year is 20,400. So the section 179 deduction is this component. Now we got to come up with a bonus. Well, this is the section 179. Here's the max. Their bonus is 1620, and the sum of those two is 20,400. So the max that they can take is 20,400. Now for an SUV, the section 179 deduction, the max is 31,300 that we talked about earlier, but 60% of that is 18,780. Okay. So now the remaining basis, you take the 70,000 less the 31,300, you get to 38,700. Multiply that by 60%, right? That's 23,220. So their bonus depreciation component is 23,220. Their section 179 is 18,780. The sum of those two, first year deduction, is 42,000. So they can't deduct all 70,000 even though they used it more than 50%. So There's a lot more to this. This is just kind of a very baseline, but there's a lot of questions that I've been getting. There's a lot of stuff out there that they don't kind of give you the details, and I wanted to provide that. So if there's any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.